Can you give me an idea what typically for a background of a DS Special Agent, it seems to me, I mean, this is just looking as an outsider. Do you have to have any military experience? Are you looking for law enforcement? What does DS look for?
So the line that's been told, and I think it's pretty accurate for years, is you kind of get a third of military, a third of law enforcement, a third of every other sector that's
Hmm.
out there. And I think that's pretty accurate. I do some mentorship now for individuals, and I do get heavy military and law enforcement, but I get people from every different sector that comes in. The reason being is, I tell people when you become a DS agent, you're applying to be a diplomat who happens to be a federal agent. So you're not leading as a federal agent. Sure, you do some domestic work, and there's a lot of domestic work to be done. But really, the big bang for our buck or the big game in town is us being overseas, providing security or leading security programs overseas. So when you have someone with a marketing background, for example, and you really need to sell your security program, like, hey, there's this new program that we have to do, or you're a communications background, for example, and you need to communicate, your desires and needs to an ambassador or DCM, or a budgeting background, right? We manage budgets. I don't know that DS looks for any specific needs in kind of overall, or any specific background overall. I think they like a diverse background of people. I think the key component to a candidate is someone that learns and is willing to learn obviously the job, but the one innate skill that they can have to make them successful is interpersonal skills, right? And that includes your effective communication, your emotional intelligence, your active listening, all those skills that really you use to build relationships with foreign law enforcement overseas and with your embassy your embassy staff, so they trust you when you say we need to do this, right? Your leadership. I think those are the main skill sets that people look for, and you can have those coming from obviously any different background. I will add that there was a time that when we were heavy in Afghanistan, by that I mean a significant amount of DS agents in Afghanistan and in Baghdad, obviously we're in combat zones. And so DS, whether official or unofficial, was hiring a lot of former military and former cops, guys and girls that had been around combat arms, combat arms and guns, to be able to operate in these environments, and if something occurred outside the realm of what you're trained for in DS, then they could handle themselves. I think now that's settled, and now they're just looking more for individuals that can serve at traditional posts overseas. Because you can train someone to do investigations, you can train someone to do protection, but you can't really train someone to be a good communicator and to have those interpersonal skills. And I think that's one of the more important things they look for.
What's your guys' relationship with the military when you're overseas, and what's your relationship with military contractors?
So the military contractors really come into play at the high threat locations. There's a new term that DS uses for those, but the high threat locations, you're Afghanistan, previously Afghanistan, you're Iraq, and then Pakistan, right? And all those guys, or a lot of those guys that run our motorcades, are from different groups. It could be Dine Corps or Triple Canopy, or maybe other groups. Our relationship is great with them. Most of those guys and girls, most of the guys are combat veterans, great group of people. They're highly vetted to come, or they were back in the day at least, to come out to these high threat zones and help support us run these motorcades. I say support, that's a strong word. Really, they're the ones that run the motorcades, and we are, as an agent in charge, there's one direct hire in these motorcades. And we, are kind of like a representative for the State Department. Now, we have overall control. We would take responsibility if there's any action, and we could override decisions. But a good leader will go in and understand that those guys have been on the ground for years and they know what they're doing. And if you see something that stands out that doesn't look right, sure, you step up and you make a decision, or you help out or change it. But you train with your guys. And so for me, my relationship, and I know you're asking about relationships in general, but my relationship with my team, having been a Marine military guy, was strong. I trained with them. I ate with them. I drank with them. I did, everything that I think a leader should do with his team. And so my relationship and other DS agents' relationships were strong. I think DS in general is strong with contractors overseas. But those, again, primarily are at these high threat locations.